Hello everyone, got 10 military jokes for you today. So a man, looking for a new job, decided to apply at the US Postal Services. He walked into the building and was greeted by the interviewer. The interviewer began to ask him a series of questions, starting with, "Are you allergic to anything?" The man replied, "Yes, coffee." The interviewer then asked him, "Have you ever been in the military service?" The man replied, "Yes," he says, "I was in Iraq for 2 years." The interviewer said, "That will give you 5 extra points towards employment." The interviewer then asked, "Are you disabled in any way?" The man, John, replied, "Yes. A bomb exploded near me and I lost both of my testicles." The interviewer, visibly uncomfortable, said, "Okay, you've got enough points for me to hire you right now. Our normal hours are from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. You can start tomorrow from 10 a.m. every day." John was puzzled and asked, "If the work hours are from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., why do you want me to start here from 10 o'clock a.m.? The interviewer explained, "This is a government job. For the first 2 hours, we just stand around drinking coffee and scratching our nuts. No point you coming in for that." So 3 friends, a turtle, a mole, and a bear are drafted and have to join the army. But neither of them want to go. So they need to provide medical proof why they can't join. "It's easy for me," says the turtle. "I am slow." He enters the examination room and when he comes out, he happily tells his friend that he is in fact too slow. "Well," says the mole next, "I am literally blind. How would they want me?" And he's right. He comes out a few minutes later and hugs his friend, saying that he doesn't have to join the army because they don't need a blind mole. "Okay guys," says the bear, terrified. "Let's face it. I am one of the biggest and most dangerous animals. I am the perfect soldier. I have an idea," says the turtle slowly. "The most dangerous part of you are your teeth. Without your teeth, you are not really dangerous. So if we just smash your teeth, they won't want you." Reluctantly, the bear agrees and the 3 friends start smashing the bear's teeth. Without teeth, the bear enters the examination room and after 10 minutes comes out again with a hanging head and sad face. "So, you have to join army?" the turtle asks carefully. The bear mumbles, "No, I'm too fat." So a recent survey of women had caused quite a stir in the aviation community, as it revealed that a majority of women would prefer to be romantically involved with an amateur pilot, rather than an experienced military jet pilot. This news had caused a great deal of confusion and frustration among the ranks of professional pilots. Tom, a young airman, had been particularly upset by the survey results. As he sat at the bar with his buddy, he slammed his phone down on the counter in frustration. "Damn it," he exclaimed. His friend turned to him, concerned. "Tom, calm down. What's got you so riled up?" Tom glared at his friend, his voice filled with anger. "I just read an article that says women want to hook up with amateur pilots over good-looking pilots like us that keep the skies safe," he said. His friend shook his head, trying to reason with him. "Relax, Tom. It has nothing to do with how we look or how safe we make them," he said. But Tom was not satisfied. "Then what is it?" he retorted. His friend paused for a moment before replying. "Women just want to hook up with a man that'll go down without a fight." So a drunk coming from a nightclub at dawn wandered off the path and trespassed into a military camp. He was urinating on one of the camp's flower beds when he was arrested and given a punishment to move a pile of some 1,000 bricks from a shed to a nearby site on the camp where some construction was to take place. Midway into the punishment, and as the sun was rising and the camp coming more and more alive with soldiers reporting for duty, He caught a glimpse of a familiar face disembarking from a military vehicle. He called out his name. He was his old neighbor. The neighbor came to greet him, and as it turned out, he was the in charge of the camp. "My friend, your soldiers here caught me urinating on those flowers. I didn't do it on purpose. I was drunk. They gave me this punishment of moving bricks," he complained. His old neighbor looked concerned and responded, "It's all right. Just return the bricks to where they were. There are people who will be moving them today." So two guys get called up for military service. Coincidentally, they both live in the same street, so they share a ride. During the ride, one says to the other, "I'm going to tell you right now, they will disqualify me for military service." The other replies, "Really? How can you be so sure?" "I'll tell you later," the first guy answers. Anyway, they get there and the first guy needs to go in for medical inspection. Before he goes into the room, he slips $100 between his ass cheeks and walks into the doctor's office. After a couple of checks, the doctor says, "I'm confident you'll make a fine infantryman. I just have to check your backside." So the guy drops his pants and his underwear and bends over. "Oh dear," the doctor says. "I'm afraid I'm going to have to disqualify you. You've got hemorrhoids." So the guy walks out and tells his friend about it. "Just slip $100 between your ass cheeks and you'll be fine," he says. So the guy stands there, thinking about it and about the fact that $100 is a lot of money. So he takes $10 out of his wallet, slips it between his ass cheeks, and walks into the doctor's office. After a couple of checks, the doctor says, "I'm confident you'll make a fine infantryman. I just have to check your backside." So the doctor checks his backside and says that everything is fine and he passed the test. The guy turns around and says, "What? You just told my friend he was disqualified because of his hemorrhoids." "Yes," replied the doctor, "but his condition is 10 times worse." So the military is cutting staff and decide to get rid of 3 generals. One from the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines. All of them are old, grizzled men who had seen their fair share of war. So the Pentagon comes up with a unique bonus system for their service. They can choose 2 points of their bodies, and for every inch between them, they would get $10,000. First up was the Army general. He chose to measure between the tips of his middle fingers with his arms spread wide. Second was the Air Force, who chose the top of his head to the soles of his feet. Then came the Marine general. "I want you to measure from the tip of my dick to my balls." The men running the measuring laughed and then asked him, seriously, where he wanted to measure. "I am being serious. Now start measuring." The men tried to dissuade him, but he was adamant. Finally, resigned, one of the men takes the measuring tape and goes to take the measurement. When the general removed his pants, the man jumped up in alarm. "Sir, where are your balls?" "In Vietnam." So a new captain, eager to learn the ways of his company, sets out to understand the various procedures and protocols that have been established. As he makes his rounds, he comes across 2 soldiers standing guard over a seemingly unremarkable bench. Intrigued, he approaches his sergeants to inquire about the purpose of this strange task. They tell him that the previous commander had ordered them to guard the bench, but they were uncertain as to why. Determined to get to the bottom of this mystery, the captain decides to call the previous commander, now a major, to ask for an explanation. The major, however, simply repeats the same answer he had been given, that the order had come from the commander before him. Frustrated, but still determined, the captain continues to make calls, working his way up the chain of command, each time receiving the same answer that the order had come from the previous commander. Finally, after several attempts, the captain is able to get in touch with an old retired 4-star general who had been the commander at the time the order was first given. Politely, the captain asks him why he had ordered his men to guard this bench, and why this strange tradition had been maintained by all the commanders since then. The old retired general pauses for a moment, then responds with a chuckle, "Wait, is the paint still wet?" So a Marine general, an Army general, and a Navy admiral were discussing who had the toughest men. The Army general says, "All right, I'll prove the Army has the toughest men in the country. Private, get over here." The private reports as ordered. "Yes, sir." The general says, "See that man over there? Kill him." Without hesitating, the private kills the man. The general says, "See, that man has balls." The Marine general says, "That's nothing. Private, get over here." The Marine private reports, "Yes, sir." The Marine general says, "See that man over there? Kill him and then kill yourself." Without blinking, the Marine private pulls out his M16 and blows away the guy, then turns the rifle on himself and unloads several rounds. The Marine general says, "See, now that man has balls." The admiral says, "That's nothing." He calls to a seaman high up on a tower, "Hey, seaman, jump off that tower." The seaman answers, "Excuse me, sir." The admiral repeats, "Jump off that tower." The seaman replies, "Fuck you, sir." The admiral says, "See, that man has balls and he's got brains too." So it is 1939 and the Soviet army is marching on Finland. As they pass the border, they hear a Finnish voice over the hill. "One Finnish soldier is better than 10 Soviet soldiers." The Soviet general laughs as he sends 10 men on the hill to capture it. There is gunfire for a minute, and then everything goes silent for a moment, and they then hear the same voice. "One Finnish soldier is better than 100 of yours." Annoyed, the Soviet general sends 100 men to capture the hill. There is gunfire and bombs going for 10 minutes, and everything goes silent again. Suddenly, the same voice yells out, "One Finnish soldier is better than 1,000 of Soviet soldiers." Enraged, the general sends 1,000 men, accompanied with tanks, artillery, mortar teams, and tells them to not return until the hill is theirs. For half an hour hell breaks loose, bombs and explosions, gunfire, screams and death all around, and then it goes silent again. One Soviet soldier crawls back, severely wounded and battered. Before the general could say anything, the soldier says, "Do not send more troops, Comrade General, it's a trap. There is 2 of them." So 2 Arkansas brothers decide they are going to do their patriotic duty and enlist in the military. The first recruiter's office they come to is an Air Force recruiter. The 2 walk inside and are greeted by the recruiter. "Gentlemen, what can I do for you today?" he asks. One of the brothers speaks up. "My name is Daryl, and this is my brother Billy Ray. We would like to join up, sir." "Excellent. Tell me, men, what do you do for a living now?" the recruiter asks. Billy Ray says, "I'm a pilot." The recruiter breaks into a huge smile. "Wonderful. We always need pilots in the Air Force. Come this way and we will get you all set up." The recruiter leads Billy Ray out of the room to do his enlistment paperwork. After about 10 minutes, the recruiter returns to talk to Daryl. The recruiter looks at Daryl and says, "So what do you do for a living?" "I'm a wood chopper," Daryl replies. The recruiter frowns. "Oh, well, I am sorry, sir. I am afraid I can't help you." Daryl gets a confused look on his face and asks the recruiter, "What do you mean you just took my brother?" "That's because your brother is a pilot. We need pilots in the Air Force. We just simply have no need for wood choppers in the Air Force. Daryl again looks at the recruiter confused and says, "Yeah, but I got to chop the wood before Billy Ray can pilot."